Hello and welcome to GCS Today here on Channel 21, the program that brings you news and information from Gaston County Schools. I'm Todd Hagans. On today's edition, as we continue to celebrate the 50th anniversary of Gaston County Schools, we talk with two of our longtime educators, one who is saying goodbye to coaching after more than 5 decades, and one who just might be the most well-known teacher in Bessemer City. Joining me on GCS Today is Coach Phil Tate, who is very well known at South Point High School. Coach Tate, it's great to see you, and we appreciate you being here today.
It's good to be here. Nice to see you.
Okay, if our audience hasn't heard, you are retiring after 52 years in education. Why now?
Well, I've been out of the classroom since 2010 and still been on the football field, but last year I felt like I didn't have the energy. The practice was got longer and longer and longer, and I had less and less energy, and the want to is still there, but when you don't feel like you're doing the job that you should be doing, it's time to move on. I've known so many coaches over the years tell me that when you don't want to go to practice, it's time to get out because you're cheating the kids and you're cheating the program. So South Point is in good hands with some great coaches, the staff over there, a bunch of young guys. Most of them came through the program over there, and I feel good about leaving it to them. They'll do a great job.
But you won't go too far. You'll still keep in touch and keep up with South Point and probably watching from the sidelines, right?
Well, Coach Hodge, he keeps after me. He's still not giving up on me, but I will be around. I'll go to some practices. I'll be around on Friday night some, and I'll tell him what I think, and whether he uses it or not, that's up to him. But I'll be pretty honest with him, and he's a great high school football coach, along with his staff, and I won't be far.
And South Point won't let you go too far.
Well,
for sure.
I don't know about that, but like I said, they've got some good sharp guys over there, and they love the game, and most importantly, they love the kids, and they're going to do right by those kids.
Now, you during your tenure, you are responsible for 3 state baseball titles.
Right.
And you were involved as an assistant coach with the state football titles at South Point.
5 of them, right.
And you've been an umpire, and you are a member of the Belmont and the Gaston County Sports Halls of Fame.
Right, yeah.
And looking back over 52 years in education, you have you have an education family. I understand that your wife was a teacher for 40
Correct.
Years.
Right.
And she was at Belmont Central and
Catawba Heights, right.
And then also at Belmont Middle School, I believe.
Also, she even taught some at Belmont Abbey. She was teaching teachers at Belmont Abbey.
And so your wife was a teacher. Your daughter is Kristen Kaiser, who is a principal now at Lowell Elementary School.
Right.
And you have a grandson who is a new teacher. I think he's in his 3rd year at Ashbrook High School.
Correct.
So all of this, I'm sure, makes you very proud to know that you have an education family.
Well, we went to a great school, Western Carolina, great school. It's small enough to where there's not a lot of outside influence, like a lot of towns, college towns are. But we love Western Carolina, and Trish, my wife, was a great teacher for a long, long time. Kristen is a real great principal. She spends so much time, extra time, more than she should over there. Jake, our grandson, does a great job of teaching biology at Ashbrook, and he too spends more time than he should at school and trying to get things going. But Western Carolina was a good place for us to go. We were high school sweethearts, and then she came to Western after 2 years, and we were married. And Dr. Jim Hamilton, the head of the PE department at Western Carolina, he's 97 years old now, and he's still alive in Kansas, and he still runs. Well, if you want to call it run. He's in these 5Ks and stuff like that, but he's a great guy. But he told us in the PE department, the health and PE majors, we had to have 2 majors. We had to major in health and physical education, but we also had to have a second major, which I took science. And I enjoyed teaching biology, but Doc told us, he said, if you need a place to go back to the community you came from and make it better. And that's what we've done.
It's great. It's great. Now, as you look back on your career, what stands out in your mind? What do you remember most, first, about being a teacher?
Well, it was, the thing is, you walk in the door and you see all the people in there and what they're about, and then you're sitting in your classroom and you see these kids come in the door, and every one of them are from different backgrounds. And you can tell by the way they handle themselves, by the way they carry themselves, who is in a good spot and who's not in a good spot. And I always tried to, the kids that weren't maybe having a good day or were in a bad spot, I always tried to pat them on the back, either physically or verbally, and tell them how you doing, things will get better and things like that. So I did a lot of hugging, mental hugging, and making sure kids understood that a school was a good place for them, and if they applied themselves, they would do well someday, and it turned out to be good mamas and daddies and family people and church goers and things like that. They didn't have to be a doctor or a lawyer. You know, we don't have enough people in trades anymore. You know, we don't have enough mechanics and things like that, plumbers and things like that. But every kid is different. Even twins in a classroom, they're very, very different people, and you have to understand that to be an effective teacher.
Now, I think probably the lessons you taught in the classroom, you also taught them on the baseball field and the football field as well.
Right. I mean, being on time, being ready, having your stuff together, just like going in a classroom. And one of the people I learned that from was a guy, believe it or not, was a band teacher named Frank Widenhouse. He was a great band director, and he was a disciplinarian to a point. And he made sure those kids understood that when you show up, you're ready to go, you're ready to practice, you're ready to apply yourself, and when it's over, it's over. And that's just one teacher that I always felt like was a true consummate teacher. Might sound strange coming from an old football guy, but Frank Widenhouse is a good example.
Okay, as a coach, and you look back on your career, is there a particular team that is most special to you, or one that really stands out to you?
Well, in baseball, I guess the 1981, the last state championship we won, we were playing at home. We were playing East Randolph, and the first game on Friday night we won, and they had one good pitcher and I had 2, and we beat them on Friday night. Well, right after the game, it starts raining, and it rained all night long. I mean, rain just like it's raining around here now. So I get up at daybreak the next morning, go to the field and get my brooms and squeegees out and start moving water, because I didn't want him to have another day or two to get that #1 guy back again. And so I looked around, and here come the city of Belmont. They had sump pumps, things like that. Parents came. We were bailing water with cups and stuff like that. And I got an idea. I think, I'm going to go call the Air National Guard and get a helicopter to come over here. So I called them, and they wouldn't do it. So I called Harold Johnson at Channel 9. And he said, they had covered the game that night. And he said, yeah, we'll send one over. So I went back in the field house, and I told the athletic director, Coach Biggerstaff, who was responsible for everything at South Point now. He said, oh, yeah. He thought I was joking. And about 10 minutes later, here comes a helicopter, comes through the center field gate, the center field light poles, sits down on the infield and sits there for about 45 minutes and had that thing just going full speed. That field was great. We won that night. I mean, it was a great memory.
I don't think I've ever heard someone tell a story about using a helicopter as a gigantic fan
we did
to dry up that baseball field.
We did it. We did it. And That baseball field was built, Harold Stowe, the old Clemson guy, down New Hope Road was, and then some other people in town helped me build that field, and I took so much pride in that field and still do. But and as far as football is concerned, we went to Asheville in 2003, and they were favored, and it was cold, and we get up there, and I got out of the truck with Mick Lineberger and Mike McWhorter, and I said, boys, it looks like to me it's a little bit of stuff falling. And that's not, Coach. I said, it's going to snow here tonight. So we went in, got dressed, and came out to warm up, and it starts spitting snow. And by the time we got through our individual warm-ups, the ground was getting white. And when we went back in and came back out, the field was covered. You couldn't see a line anywhere. They had blowers trying to blow off the yard lines and all that kind of stuff. And Asheville was favored. They had a heck of a team, and we beat them 57-10 at their place. Those two games are sweet memories. But all the teams I've been a part of, and when I say I've been a part of, that's the way I feel. I was a head coach in baseball and football at one time, but I always just wanted to be a part to try to make things go.
You have taught many students and players over the years, many lessons. What have they taught you?
Probably the number one thing is patience. I'm geared a little bit to be impatient. If you don't believe it, you can ask my wife. But I've learned to be more patient because most people do want to do well, but most people are a little bit slower doing things than I am, and I've learned to slow down a little bit over the years. Now,
you're retiring. You're still going to stay in touch and keep up with South Point, but you're going to have extra time on your hands. What do you want to do now? What are you looking forward to?
Well, I got some good buddies that play a lot of golf, and they're former coaches in the county: Bill Eccles, Joe Shepard, John Devine, Lloyd White, the Ashbrook guys. They're good friends of mine we were never enemies. We were always competitors, and we're still great friends. And I like to play golf. And also, Trish and I have a place at North Myrtle Beach, and we're going to spend more time than we have been spending because of the schedule with football and all. But we're going to travel some. We're going to St. Louis and see 3 games this summer. A boy that I coached is the manager of the St. Louis Cardinals, and he's from Charlotte. And we're going to go see him, and we're just going to maybe kick back and relax a little bit and walk in town and things like that normal people do.
Well, kicking back and relaxing is something I think is well deserved for you.
Thank you.
And in everything that you've done for South Point High School and Gaston County Schools, we want to say thank you for that. We appreciate you, and you will, even though you are retiring, you will always be an important part of the Gaston County Schools family. So we just want to tell you how much we appreciate everything that you've done.
Well, I appreciate that, but I think I got more out of it than anybody else because I've enjoyed my time with Gaston County Schools, and it's a great place to live, great place to work, and I hope things just keep getting better.
Coach Phil Tate from South Point High School, thank you for being with us today here on GCS Today.
Thank you, Todd.
You are watching GCS Today here on Channel 21. We will be right back.
I'm a teacher. Let me tell you what I make. I make learning a privilege, not a chore, and frustration a tool, not an obstacle. I make working hard seem easy and giving up impossible. I make an old subject feel like a fresh thought and unconventional methods common. I'm a teacher. I make more.
Hey, you.
Yeah, you. Getting that college education. What are you gonna do? Graduate and take some office job? Be like everybody else?
Or will you dare do something different?
Like, be a teacher. You could be my teacher. You got the skills. The smarts.
Yes, you.
You could be the teacher I never forget.
That'd be cool.
Does that corporate job even have recess? What are you gonna make of yourself?
What are you gonna make of me?
Joining me on GCS Today is Diane Leazer from Bessemer City High School. So good to see you, and we're so glad that you're with us here today. All right, let's start off. Who influenced you to become a teacher?
Actually, teaching is my third choice. I have to be honest. I had originally wanted to become a minister. Fortunately, at the time period, they did not allow women in my church to do this. My best friend and I went down to the theological seminary. He was going to be a doctorate degree just like I was, but he was going to be the minister, and I could, if I was musically inclined, conduct the choir. That's not me. So I thought, okay, strike that one. My second choice actually was to become someone in the medical field that would help children overcome. I had rheumatic fever. The little girl in the bed beside me died in the middle of the night. At that time, there was only one doctor in the world that could handle, and luckily I got under Dr. Prince. So I wanted to go there. Unfortunately, my family is not wealthy, has never been. We are on the wrong side of the tracks. And so that one went out the window because there was just no way to get finances. Luckily for me, in the time period, they needed teachers so desperately that the opportunity was there. You could get borrowed money from the government. So I borrowed and went into the teaching field and found out that I could do both of the other jobs simultaneously while I was teaching my lessons.
And I bet that you will have people that would say, and I would be one of them, I'm glad you chose teaching as your profession. Glad it worked out that way.
Well, I'm glad it did too now. I reach more people, far more people. Like my minister once said, you reach people I'll never find. They have to come to your classroom. They won't come to my church. So I get to do that. And then when everyone has learned at school, vinegar is a miracle. If you have a sore throat, you will use vinegar water and it will cure it. So I have all these remedy type things that are old-fashioned that work. Garlic is the poor man's penicillin. So we do things like that in class. You know, they'll ask me, what should I do? I said, if you want to go the natural way, get some garlic. You know? So I get to do that at the same time. And I let them know, ice, you know, ice is wonderful. It'll stop pain in the heartbeat if you use it at the right time. So all of this has worked in for my benefit to do what I really wanted to do, and now I get to do it in the classroom.
You've been able to blend it.
Blended in there. Yes, it is blended.
Now you're an English teacher. Do you have a favorite lesson that you like to teach? You
know, this was so hard when I first saw the question. In the 8th grade, my favorite was the Telltale Heart, and I'll explain. In the 12th grade, it is the Prodigal Son. In the 11th grade, it's the Raven. In the 8th grade, I go into character when I am presenting the story. And I scared a couple of 8th graders one day because I went so into the character that they literally, I was spitting just like I was insane and was acting the part. And one of the kids said, we thought you had gone. And so I said, no, I'm playing the role. I'm just playing the role. The Raven, I have taught that probably over 200 times. However, the morning of the presentation, I'm in rehearsing again to make sure I have the rhythm just right. And I love jerking open the door and looking out and saying, there's no one there. And the kids are looking, and they're looking to see if there's anyone there. Because as we're going through the different parts, I like to try to bring in something that makes it pertinent. So I'll jerk it. I said, there's no one there. You know, when we get to that. In fact, I'll enter the room and I am already doing the first stanza, and they're looking at me, oh gosh, she knows the whole thing. I said, yeah, I've taught it so long. Okay, you might want to get on the page so you can follow along. And we go from there. The Prodigal Son has become my favorite for my 12th graders. I've had so many students over the years who have gone away to college, gone to other areas, and deviated from the norm of what is best for them. And then I let them know when the time comes, come on, we're waiting. We'll help you. We'll get you back on your feet. There is no turnaround that cannot be undone. So just when you get out there, turn around, come on home. We're waiting on you. and we help them out. And I've had students who have come back who have turned around, and they come and let me know.
Now, I like to think that you are a legend in Bessemer City. I don't know if you've ever been called that.
I've been called a lot of things.
But I think the whole town of Bessemer City, everyone knows you. What does that mean to you?
It's so important. I don't want to ever do something that would be negative, that would take away the image of the teacher. As I tell the kids when they enter my classroom at the beginning of the year, first day, if you've been here very long and your family's been here, I have taught a sibling, a cousin, an aunt and uncle, your mama, your daddy, your grandpa or your grandma, and in 2 years, your great-grandma and your great-grandpa. They know. They already prepare the children. Just go in and do what she says. If you'll just do what she says, you're going to be all right. Keep your feet out of our way. She doesn't like to be tripped. Yeah. There is a way to code the paper. Just do it that way. Just do it. And it helps me in that respect, in that they come in and there are, and I had one, he cried 3 days before he entered my classroom. The parents came over after about a month and said, "What did you do to my boy?" And I thought, what have I done? I said, "Could you please explain?" "Well, he cried for 3 days, wouldn't come to your class, was going to drop out of school. We convinced him, give it a try. Now he gets up an hour early to prepare for your class." I said, "I don't have him the second period." "I know. He gets up before 7 o'clock so he won't be late to school, so he'll be in your class. What have you done?" I said, "Nothing that I know of." It was the lessons. He was getting so much from the lessons. He wanted to be there, and he was going to be a potential dropout. So the parents helped me, the grandparents helped me, everybody in the family rallies around, and they said, "Just go in and do it. She's going to get you through."
Now, I know that back in September when we had our Big 50 parade for the anniversary
I love a parade.
Gaston County Schools, we invited you to be on our longtime employees float, and you were there. What did you enjoy most about that event?
Seeing the people, meeting the others on the float who have lasted for a long time, some I had not seen for years, but being on the float and seeing my former students out there who are adults who had brought their children and waving at them and just, it was fun. I love a parade. I have loved the parade since I was 18 months old. To me, the parade is the most wonderful thing. You've got music, you've got beautiful costumes, you've got colorful floats. To me, as I explained to my children when they're marching in the band, give it your all, because these people love to come out to parade. And I was thrilled to be a part of it, you know, to ride on the float myself. I don't normally do that.
Well, I'm glad that you deserved to be there, and I'm glad that you said yes, and we had a good time.
We did.
On that day back in September
We
with
did.
the parade.
It was one of the best times of my life, to be honest, and I think I sent you a note about that.
You did. You did. Now, you have taught many students over the years, and I think, if I'm correct, your career spans about 40 years, and you were in, has your career been entirely in Bessemer City?
No. I spent, first year I went to teach, you could not get a job in North Carolina, period. I had to go to South Carolina to get a year's experience to work my way back in. So my second year of teaching began at, Bessemer City Middle School was Bessemer City Junior High at that time. Mm-hmm. It went from Lincoln Junior High, actually is where I actually started. It went from Lincoln Junior High to Bessemer City Junior High to Bessemer City Middle. I have 3 schools on my resume. I never left the room. You just kept changing the name on me. So I have spent the vast majority of it here. Grown up with the children. As a young adult, you think you know it all, you don't. I'm still learning from my children, and will learn until the day I die, probably.
And now you're at Bessemer City High School, and you talk about your students. What is there one lesson that they have taught you?
Give me a chance. Just give me a chance. I made a bad mistake as far as I'm concerned early on. One of my students wasn't doing well, and I developed an attitude towards him that you're lazy. I had no clue. My mother kept telling me, there's something about that kid. You're not seeing something, there's something about that kid. As I later found out, I would not have survived what that child was going through. And he later has become so famous, he wrote a song, Do You Believe Me Now? Because he kept telling me, I'm going to be something, I'm going to be someone, I'm going to make it. And I thought, well, what about making a little time to do a little homework? He had no place to do homework. To get a meal, he did what they now call dumpster diving, because he was homeless. To shop, he went and he said, you tried on the stuff in the dumpster until something fit, and that became your wardrobe. He now has vast sums of money, of course, and he's very well known, but I misjudged. I didn't give him the chance at the time, and I've always hated that. We're best friends now. We are on Facebook several times a week. Mistake that a new teacher makes sometimes is you think you know, but you don't. And you find out later there is just so much more that's not being shown, that's being kept secret. And you need to just give them a chance.
Yep. I think that's good advice, not just for teachers, but for a lot of people. Good advice there. Now, what keeps you going? What keeps you in the classroom?
My children do. I have never acted my age and don't intend to start now. I stay young because of them. They are forevermore opening up my world. I discovered just last week, we had the Counselor's Appreciation Week. One of my students refused to put down Counselor Appreciation Week. And I looked at him and I said, well, what have you done? And I went over and I'm reading what the email is, and I said, concealers. You know, I never thought of it, but they do conceal a lot, don't they? You can go and tell him or her, whoever your counselor is, something, and they will conceal it for you, and you're free. And so today we laughed at grammar. Grammar usually is not considered a funny thing, but my students can make it fun. I told them, I said, you just made my world today because you made it fun today. They are forevermore looking at things differently. As I told them the other week, I had a student, they write essays for me, and sometimes the essays do not convey what they really mean. One of my children was trying to talk about the C-section that was done in Macbeth. Unfortunately, she didn't use the letter C or Caesarean, she put S-E-A. And I looked at that and I started laughing. I said, honey, that's an awfully big cut. Their way of looking at things, their way of showing me new aspects, it gets me up in the morning because I go to find out, what am I going to learn today? I've got my lesson I've got to teach them, but they're going to be teaching me something before the day's over with.
Well, I think me knowing you have taught a lot of lessons, and you have done a lot of encouraging, you've been compassionate, you've been caring about your students. You've shown a lot of encouragement to me. Even during my time as the newspaper editor there in Bessemer City and Cherryville, and now working for the school system, and I certainly appreciate it. And I bet you will find that a lot of the people that you've influenced and over the years, they appreciate that as well.
Well, they've made me proud. The vast majority. Now, I have a few that have made some very bad errors, and they're correcting their ways, but most of them made me so proud. They've gone on. The leaders of the world, actually, one of mine actually had lunch with Nelson Mandela. I was so envious. I could have, okay, I'm so proud for the child. Another one, on her birthday, the president of a foreign country sent her a blessing. She shared it with me so that I could read the blessing. I've got some that are out there, your EMTs, your policemen. Invariably, when I'm involved in something, one of my children shows up to help me out. You know, and they'll look at, Miss Leazer, what's going on? You know, and they're all over the place. I can't, even if I go down to Atlanta, Georgia, as happened with my sister, I was taking her to the Terrier warehouse. She's in the Terriers. As we got out of the van, I took 3 steps across the parking lot, and suddenly someone screamed, hey, Miss Leazer. My sister looked and she says, you can't go anywhere. I said, no, I really can't. I went all the way out to California. I'm a zoo person. I'm into animals besides children, and the animals teach me how to handle the children oftentimes. But at the zoo, I was talking to some monkeys, and I communicate with the animals. And all of a sudden, I heard a voice behind me, "Miss Leazer, what are you doing here?" So they're all over the world. They really are. And they're making me proud in their own way. I don't look more highly on the one who had the Nigerian president write to her as the one who was doing the janitorial job, because that one is, to me, actually more important. Nothing's worse than going into a messy place. So regardless of where they are, they're doing what they are here to do, and they're making me proud as they do it. I will call on one of my plumber children in a heartbeat over one that's in the legislature. They're special. Each child has come to me in their own way and progressed specially.
Well, thank you for your influence, and thank you for everything that you've done in the Bessemer City Schools and at Bessemer City High School, and the things that you'll continue to do to influence children and guide them and to make them the best they can be. We really appreciate all that you do. Diane Leazer from Bessemer City High School, thank you for being with us here today on GCS Today.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for watching GCS Today. Stay tuned to Channel 21 for the latest school news and information. And be sure to visit our website to keep up with all of the events associated with our year-long celebration of the 50th anniversary of Gaston County Schools. I'm Todd Higgins for GCS Today. We look forward to seeing you next time.